Hey YouTube, this is Nina. I hope everyone is having a good start to their week, or to your week. I was listening to Let Us Find the Truth, and he was asking that someone look up the Negro Act and the Moroccan Treaty. So I'm going to go ahead and do this before I read in the Lost Tribes of Israel. Now, this is the Negro Act of 1740. I'm on Wikipedia. And the Comprehensive Negro Act of 1740, passed in South Carolina, made it illegal for slaves to move abroad, assemble in groups, raise food, earn money, and learn to write English, though reading was not prescribed. Additionally, owners were permitted to kill rebellious slaves if necessary. Okay, so, this is a PDF. And I'm really trying to cut corners, so I won't be on the video for an hour. But y'all know this rabbit hole is deep. So this is it. Now, this is a PDF so we can get a better understanding. This is number 670. And it says, an act for the better ordering and governing Negroes and other slaves in this province. Whereas in His Majesty's plantations in America, slavery has been introduced and allowed, and the people commonly called Negroes, Indians, mulattoes, and mestizos have been deemed absolute slaves and the subjects of property in the hands of the particular persons, the extent of whose power over such slaves ought to be settled and limited by positive laws, so that the slave may be kept in due subjection and obedience, and the owners and other persons having the care and government of slaves may be restrained from exercising too great rigor and cruelty over them, and that the public peace and order of this province may be preserved. We pray that your most sacred majesty, that it may be enacted. And first off, let's deal with the first thing. Who is His Majesty's plantations? Okay. So from what Let Us Find the Truth is telling us, and Lex and Drop, and we all digging deep in this. So what we're finding out, that is this something proving that the U.S. presidents don't matter, and that we are in fact under a king and queen here? Because they start off with, where is in His Majesty's plantations in America. Okay, so y'all heard that. And then at the end it said, we pray your most sacred majesty, that it may be enacted. Wow. Okay, so this is number 1, and it said, and be it enacted by the Honorable William Bull, Esquire, Lieutenant Governor and Commander-in-Chief, by and with the advice of consent of His Majesty's Honorable Council and the Commons House of Assembly of this province, and by the authority of the same, that all Negroes and Indians, free Indians, in amity with this government, and degrees mulattoes and mestizos who are now free, accepted. Mulattoes or mestizos who now are or shall hereafter be in this province, and all their issue and offspring born or to be born shall be, and they are hereby declared to be, and remain forever hereafter absolute slaves, and shall follow the condition of the mother, and shall be deemed, held, taken, reputed, and adjudged in law to be chattels personal in the hands of their owners and possessors, and their executors, administrators, and assigns to all intents, constructions, and purposes whatsoever, provided always that if any Negro, Indian, mulatto, or mestizo shall claim his or her freedom, it shall and may be lawful for such Negro, Indian, mulatto, or mestizo, or any person or persons whatsoever on his or her behalf to apply to the justices of His Majesty's Court of Common Pleas by petition or motion, either during the sitting of the said court or before any of the justices of the same court at any time in the vacation, and by the said court or any of the justices thereof shall, and they are hereby fully empowered to admit any person so applying to be guardian for any Negro, Indian, mulatto, or mestizo claiming his, her, or their freedom, and such guardian shall be enabled, entitled, and capable in law to bring an action of trespass in the nature of ravishment of ward against any person who shall claim property in or who shall be in possession of any such Negro, Indian, mulatto, mestizo, and the defendant shall and may plead the general issue on such action brought, and the special matter may and shall be given in evidence, and upon a general of special verdict found. Judgment shall be given according to the very right of the cause, without having any regard to any defect in the proceedings, either in form or substance, and if judgment shall be given for the plaintiff, a special entry shall be made declaring that the ward of the plaintiff is free, and the jury shall assess damages which the plaintiff's ward has sustained, and the court shall give judgment and award execution against the defendant for such damage with full cost of suit. But in case judgment shall be given for the defendant, the court is hereby fully empowered to inflict such corporal punishment, not extending to life or limb, on the ward of the plaintiff, as they in their discretion shall think fit, provided always that in any action or suit be brought in pursuance of the direction of this act, the burden of the proof shall lay on the plaintiff, and it shall be always presumed that every Negro, Indian, mulatto, and mestizo is a slave unless the contrary can be made appear. The Indians in amity with this government excepted, in which case the burden of the proof shall lie on the defendant, provided also that nothing in this act shall be construed to hinder or restrain any other court of law or equity in this province from determining the property of slaves or their rights of freedom, which now have cognizance or jurisdiction of the same, when the same shall happen to come in judgment before such courts, or any of them always taking this act for their direction therein. And that was just number one. Y'all, what the fuck are we in, man? God, this why people start reading. Hell, I mean, I started reading it and getting an understanding of what I was reading, and it like froze me. I'm just like, and excuse my language, I try my best to use clean words because I share this with my family and friends, but it's just like, golly. I mean, what are we in? I'm definitely going to link this. That just blew my mind. I'm going to go ahead and read too. Oh, that was heavy. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. And be it further enacted by the authority aforesaid that in every action or suit to be brought by any such guardian as foresaid appointed pursuant to the direction of this act and the appointed pursuant to the direction of this act, the defendant shall recognize with one or more sufficient sureties to the plaintiff in such a sum as the said court of common pleas shall direct, with condition that the sum as the said court of common pleas shall direct, with condition that he shall produce the award of the plaintiff at all times when required by the court, and that with such action or suit shall be depending and undetermined, the award of the plaintiff shall not be elongated, abused, or misused. And for the better keeping slaves, I'm just in shock, y'all. I'm trying to put it back together. Y'all bear with me. Okay. Hey YouTube, I asked y'all to bear with me. So I'm gonna start over at 2. Okay. And be it further enacted by the authority aforesaid that in every action or suit to be brought by any such guardian as aforesaid appointed pursuant to the direction of this act, the defendant shall recognize with one or more sufficient sureties to the plaintiff in such a sum as the said court of common pleas shall direct, with condition that the sum as the said court of common pleas shall direct, with condition that shall produce the award of the plaintiff at all times when required by the said court, and that whilst such action or suit shall be dependent and undetermined, the award of the plaintiff shall not be elongated, abused, or misused. And for the better keeping slaves in due order and subjection, be it further enacted by the authority aforesaid that no person whatsoever shall permit or suffer any slave be it further enacted by the authority aforesaid that no person whatsoever shall permit or suffer any slave under his or their care or management, and who lives or is employed in Charlestown or any other town in this province, to go out of the limits of the said town, or any such slave who lives in the country, to go out of the plantation to which such slaves belong, or in which plantation such slave is usually employed, without a letter superscribed and directed, or a ticket in the words following: permit this slave to be absent from Charlestown or any other town, or if he lives in the country from Mr. Plantation Parish for how many days, dated of, or that purpose or effect, which ticket shall be signed by the master or other person having the care or charge of such slave, or by some other person by his or their order, directions, and consent, and every slave who shall be found out of Charlestown or any other town, if such slave lives or is usually employed there, or out of the plantation to which such slave belongs, or in which such slave is usually employed, or if such slave lives in the country, without such letter or ticket aforesaid, or without a white person in his company, shall be punished with whipping on the bare back, not exceeding 20 lashes. Wow. So they even prescribed, what you would get. And be it further enacted by the authority aforesaid, that if any person shall presume to give a ticket or license to any slave who is property or under the care of charge of another without the consent, against the will of the owner or the other person having charged such slave, shall forfeit to the owner the sum of 20 pounds current money. Okay, so number 5, and it shall be further enacted by the authority aforesaid, that if any slave who shall be out of the house or the plantation where such slave live, or shall be usually employed, or without some whiter person in a company with such slave, shall refuse to submit or undergo the examination of any white person, it shall be lawful for any such white person to pursue, apprehend, and moderately correct such slave. And if any such slave shall assault and strike such white person, such slave may be lawfully killed. Wow. So, no fighting back, okay? Wow. Now, provided always, and be it further enacted by the authority aforesaid, that if any Negro or other slave shall be employed in the lawful business or service of his master, owner, overseer, or other person having charge of such slave, shall be beaten, bruised, maimed, or disabled by any person or persons not having sufficient cause or lawful authority for doing so, of which cause the justices of the peace respectively may judge, every person and persons so offending shall for every such offense forfeit and pay the sum of 40 shillings current money, over and besides the damages hereinafter mentioned to the use of the poor of that parish in which such offense shall be committed. And if such slave or slaves shall be maimed or disabled by such beating from performing his or her work, such person and persons so offending shall also forfeit and pay to the owner or owners of such slaves the sum of 15 shillings current money per diem for every day of his lost time, and also the charge of the cure of a slave. And if the said damages in whole shall not exceed the sum of 20 pounds current money, the same shall, upon lawful proof thereof, may be recoverable before any one of his Majesty's justices of the peace, in the same way and manner as debts are recoverable by the act for the trial of small and mean causes, and such justices before whom the same shall be recovered shall have power to commit the offender or offenders to go if he, she, or they shall produce no goods of which the said penalty and damages may be levied thereto, remain without bail until such penalty and damages shall be paid. Any law, statute, uses, or custom to the contrary, now notwithstanding. And be it further enacted by the authority aforesaid, that it shall and may be lawful for every justice assigned to keep the peace in this province within his respective county and jurisdiction upon his own knowledge or view, or upon information received upon oath, either for to go to person or by warrant, or warrants directed to any constable or other proper person, to command to their assistance and number of persons as they shall see convenient, to disperse any assembly or meeting of slaves which may disturb the peace or endanger the safety of his Majesty's subjects, and to search all suspected places for arms, ammunition, or stolen goods, and to apprehend and secure all such slaves as they shall suspect to be guilty of any crimes or offenses whatsoever, and to bring them to speedy trial according to the directions of this act. And in case any constable or any other person shall refuse to obey or execute any of the warrants of precepts of such justices, or any of them within several limits and precincts, or shall refuse to assist the said justice or constables of any of them when commanded or required, such person or person shall forfeit and pay the sum of £5 current money, to be recovered by a warrant under the hand and seal of any other justice of the peace, in the same way and manner as directed by the act of the trial of small and mean causes. Okay, so this is very long, and even if I was up in spirit before I read it, this just brought me down. I wasn't prepared to read all of this. And this is 21 pages of laws. To restrict us, to restrict we from rising up against our oppressors or captures. And it's 30 of them. No, it might be more. Yeah, it's 33. How many? Oh, it's plenty of them. I am in shock. What I'll be doing is definitely saving this so that I could, if I can do a page a day, then I will. We stopped on 5. And even if you just do it yourself, I'm not saying I'm going to do a page a day on video, but look over this, y'all. I'm going to drop the link with the video and click on the link and just look over it. I mean, I'm in shock. Anyway, this is the Slave Act. That's what I looked up, and my mind is blown. I won't even hold y'all while I'm in shock. I'm just like, mind is blown. I think that blew my high. All right. Thanks for listening, YouTube. I'll drop the link. Peace and blessings.